Somewhere in Canton, Ohio, there's a room full of bronze busts of the greatest football players who ever lived. To earn a spot in that room, it's not enough to be good. It's not enough to be really good. You need to be undeniable. But here's what's strange. Undeniable, apparently, still isn't always enough. Because right now, coaching high schoolers, sitting behind broadcast desks, running businesses, are 10 men who won the single hardest trophy to win in professional sports, the Lombardi Trophy. And somehow, when the Hall of Fame doors open every single summer, their names don't get called. Not once, not twice, in some cases, not for over a decade, while player after player from their own draft class, their own championship roster, even their own position group gets the call instead. These aren't guys who backed into a ring by riding the bench on a good team. These are players that other, already enshrined Hall of Famers publicly campaign for. Players whose absence from Canton makes the entire selection process look broken. And by the time we get to number 1 on this list, you're going to understand exactly why this topic makes football fans furious. Because you probably already know his name before I even say it. So if you've ever sat there during the Hall of Fame announcement in February, staring at your screen in disbelief because a guy who won it all somehow got passed over again, this video is for you. Quick thing before we jump in. If deep dives like this are the kind of football content you actually want more of, hit subscribe now. It costs you nothing, and it tells YouTube to put more of this in front of people who love the game the way you do. Alright, let's start the countdown. Number 10. Marshall Yanda. Number 10 is a name a lot of casual fans won't even recognize, and honestly, that's part of the problem. Marshall Yanda grew up in small-town Iowa, started his college career at a junior college, and when the Baltimore Ravens drafted him in the 3rd round back in 2007, nobody was calling him a future legend. But for 13 straight seasons, Yanda did something almost nobody at his position ever manages. He was simply never the weak link. In 2012, he helped anchor an offensive line through one of the most chaotic playoff runs in NFL history, one that included a double overtime survival in brutal, sub-zero Denver cold, and ended with Baltimore hoisting the Lombardi Trophy after Super Bowl 47. 8 Pro Bowls, 2 first-team All-Pro selections, a spot on the NFL's All-Decade team for the 2010s. And here's the stat that should end the conversation by itself. Yanda is one of only 3 guards in NFL history to win a Super Bowl and make at least 8 Pro Bowls. The other 2, Larry Allen and Alan Faneca, are already in Canton. Yanda isn't. Not yet, anyway. Nobody buys a jersey for the guy protecting the interior of the offensive line. But ask any Raven who lined up next to him, and they'll tell you the same thing. There's no Super Bowl parade in Baltimore without him. Number 9. Jahri Evans. Number 9 is a story that should be printed in every scouting department in the league as a warning about underestimating small school kids. Jahri Evans didn't play big-time college football. He played at Bloomsburg University, a Division II school in Pennsylvania that most NFL scouts had never heard of. Some evaluators graded him as low as a 7th-round pick. The New Orleans Saints took a chance on him in the 4th round in 2006, and what they got was one of the most dependable offensive linemen of an entire era. Evans started every single game he ever played in a Saints uniform, 169 of them, anchoring the right side of the line that protected Drew Brees all the way to a Super Bowl 44 championship over the Colts. In that game, the pass rush never got to touch his quarterback when it mattered most. 6 straight Pro Bowls, 4 first-team All-Pro selections, twice as many as any other guard in Saints history. A place on the league's 2010s All-Decade team. And yet, year after year, Evans reaches the semifinal and finalist rounds of Hall of Fame voting, and year after year, he goes home with nothing. The kid from a school most people can't even pronounce built a Hall of Fame resume in the trenches. The voters just haven't caught up yet. Number 8. Darren Woodson. Number 8 played his entire career for a Dallas Cowboys team fans still talk about like it was a religious experience. And somehow, he's the one piece of that puzzle still missing from Canton. Darren Woodson walked onto the football team at Arizona State without a scholarship. The Cowboys took a chance on him in the 2nd round in 1992, and by his 2nd season, he was already terrorizing receivers and running backs as the hardest-hitting safety in football. Over the next 12 years, Woodson became the load-bearing wall of the Cowboys' 1990s dynasty. 3 Super Bowl rings in a 4-year span. Super Bowl 27, Super Bowl 28, and Super Bowl 30. 5 Pro Bowls. 3 first-team All-Pro selections. And when he finally hung up his cleats, he did it as the leading tackler in Dallas Cowboys franchise history, a record that still stands today. Woodson is now in his 18th year of Hall of Fame eligibility. He's been a finalist 4 times. 4 times he's gotten close enough to smell the gold jacket. And 4 times the phone call never came. He has just 2 years left before he ages out of the modern-era ballot entirely and gets pushed into a far more crowded senior pool. 3 rings. A franchise tackling record that stood for over 2 decades. And a clock that's quietly running out. Number 7. Vince Wilfork. Number 7 is the kind of player who made grown men flinch just by lining up across from him. Vince Wilfork was a mountain in the middle of the New England Patriots' defensive line for 11 seasons, and his story has a symmetry that feels almost scripted. As a rookie in 2004, barely a year into his career, he won a Super Bowl ring. 10 years later, in what turned out to be his final season in New England, he won another one, Super Bowl 49, closing the loop on a career that started and ended with a championship parade. In between, Wilfork became one of the hardest players in football to move off a spot, let alone get around. A 5-time Pro Bowler, constant double and triple teams that freed up his teammates to rack up the sacks and the highlight reels, while he did the invisible work in the trenches. 2 Super Bowl rings with the same franchise, a beloved reputation, teammates, and even his own coaching staff publicly saying he belongs in Canton, and still, nothing. If you ever hear a Patriots teammate list off the names still waiting on their gold jacket, Wilfork's is one of the very first out of their mouth. Number 6. Willie McGinest. Number 6 built his entire Hall of Fame case on the stage where it matters most. January and February, when the pressure peaks and the margin for error disappears. Willie McGinest was the 4th overall pick in the 1994 draft out of USC, and across 12 seasons in New England, he became the engine of a defense that won 3 Super Bowls in a 4-year stretch, the 2001, 2003, and 2004 seasons. Here's the stat that should be hanging in Canton right now. McGinest holds the NFL record for the most sacks in postseason history, not just among linebackers, among every player at every position ever. And in a single playoff game against Jacksonville, he recorded 4.5 sacks in one afternoon, still the NFL record for a single postseason game to this day. When the games got bigger, McGinest got better. That's not a cliche with him. It's sitting right there in the record books. His regular season stat sheet alone might not scream first ballot Hall of Famer, but football has always claimed to value winning above everything else. And there may be no player in league history who delivered more, in more win-or-go-home moments, than Willie McGinest. 3 rings. A record that stood for 2 decades, and still no bust in Canton. Number 5. Rodney Harrison. Number 5 carries one of the most complicated legacies on this entire list. And that complication might be exactly why he's still on the outside looking in. Rodney Harrison spent 9 seasons with the Chargers before joining the Patriots in 2003, and almost overnight he became the heartbeat of a defense that won back-to-back championships in Super Bowl 38 and Super Bowl 39. His numbers are almost impossible to argue with. He's the all-time record holder for sacks by a defensive back, and in 2007, he became the very first player in NFL history to reach both 30 career sacks and 30 career interceptions. Only one other player has ever joined that club, Ray Lewis. Harrison's fingerprints are all over Patriots history. In Super Bowl 39, with 10 seconds left on the clock, it was Harrison who stepped in front of a pass to seal the win over Philadelphia. But Harrison also played with an edge that earned him a reputation as one of the most feared and most fined hitters of his generation, including a preseason hit on Trent Green that, in one of football's strangest twists of fate, opened the door for a backup quarterback named Kurt Warner to become league MVP and eventually a Hall of Famer himself. 2 rings. A stat line nobody else in league history had ever touched before him, and a reputation that still seems to be costing him votes, even now. 5 names in, and we've already covered 9 Super Bowl rings, an NFL postseason sack record, and a stat line only one other player in history has ever matched. And none of it has been enough to get them into Canton. If that's frustrating you even a little, go ahead and hit that like button right now. I know it sounds small, but it genuinely tells YouTube's algorithm this video is worth showing to other football fans who'd want to see it too, which means more people get to learn just how deep this problem really runs. Alright, let's keep going. We're halfway there, and the snubs only get bigger from here. Number 4. Reggie Wayne. Number 4 spent his entire 14-year career catching passes in Indianapolis, and somehow still gets overshadowed in his own Hall of Fame conversation. Reggie Wayne was the 30th overall pick in 2001, and he spent every single one of his 211 career games with the Colts, growing from a promising rookie into Peyton Manning's most trusted target on the way to a Super Bowl 41 championship over the Bears. By the time he retired, Wayne had racked up 1,070 receptions, over 14,000 receiving yards, and 82 touchdowns, 6 Pro Bowls, a first-team All-Pro nod in 2010. And here's a stat that should stop you in your tracks. Wayne is one of only 2 players in NFL history to rank in the top 10 all-time in both receptions and receiving yards in the regular season, and receptions and receiving yards in the postseason. The other player on that list is Jerry Rice. Wayne has now been a Hall of Fame finalist 7 years in a row, the longest active wait of any receiver on the ballot. Part of the problem might genuinely be timing. He played every year of his career next to other Colts legends already enshrined in Canton, and voters have struggled to separate his greatness from the shadow of the guy throwing him the ball. But greatness shouldn't need better lighting to be recognized. Number 3. Terrell Suggs. Number 3 did something that sounds almost too good to be true. He won a Super Bowl with 2 completely different franchises, more than 15 years apart, on opposite ends of his career. Terrell Suggs was the 10th overall pick by the Baltimore Ravens back in 2003, and he spent the next 17 seasons as one of the most disruptive pass rushers of his generation. In 2011, he was named the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year. The following season, he helped the Ravens capture Super Bowl 47. Then, in what could have easily been a forgettable final chapter, 37-year-old Suggs signed with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2019 and won a second ring, this time in Super Bowl 54, closing out his career exactly the way he started it, as a champion. By the time he retired, Suggs had racked up 139 career sacks, good for 8th all-time in NFL history. 7 of the 8 players ranked ahead of him on that list are already enshrined in Canton. So are 8 of the players ranked behind him. 2 rings with 2 different franchises, a Defensive Player of the Year award, and a sack total that puts him in the same breath as players who already have their bust in Canton. Terrell Suggs' case isn't complicated, it's just waiting for the votes to line up. Number 2. Torry Holt. Number 2 might be the single most talked about snub in the entire NFL right now, and it comes down to one painfully simple fact. Torry Holt was the 6th overall pick in 1999, and he became a foundational piece of the St. Louis Rams' greatest show on turf, the offense that turned the league upside down and won Super Bowl 34 as one of the most explosive units the NFL had ever seen. Over the following decade, nobody in football caught more passes or gained more receiving yards than Torry Holt. Not Randy Moss, not Terrell Owens, not Marvin Harrison. Holt led the league outright in receiving yards twice, led the league in receptions once, made 7 Pro Bowls, earned first-team All-Pro honors, and was named to the NFL's All-Decade team for the 2000s. Here's the fact that should be impossible to ignore. Every other major offensive piece of that greatest show on turf squad, Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk, Isaac Bruce, Orlando Pace, is already enshrined in Canton. Every single one of them. Torry Holt is the only player from that legendary offense still standing outside the building. 12 years of eligibility, 7 times a finalist, 7 times sent home without a jacket. Holt has said publicly that he still believes he belongs in that room with the rest of his teammates, and every February, he has to watch the announcement again, hoping this is finally the year. Considering the numbers, considering the history, considering that his own peers are already in there waiting on him, it's genuinely hard to argue that he doesn't. At some point, being the last empty chair at a reunion everyone else already showed up to stops being a coincidence and starts being an injustice. Number 1. Eli Manning. And that brings us to number 1. If you've watched football at any point in the last 20 years, you probably already know exactly where this story is going. Eli Manning was the first overall pick in the 2004 draft, and across 16 seasons with the New York Giants, he authored 2 of the single most stunning upsets in Super Bowl history, against the same opponent, the same head coach, and the same quarterback, nearly derailing a perfect, undefeated season not once, but twice. In Super Bowl 42, Manning led the Giants past an 18-0 New England Patriots team that was 1 win away from history, 4 years later, in Super Bowl 46, he did it again, beating that same Patriots franchise in another fourth-quarter comeback. Both times, Eli Manning walked away holding the Super Bowl MVP trophy. He's one of only 6 players in NFL history to win multiple Super Bowl MVP awards. The other 5 are among the most decorated names the sport has ever produced. And still, in his second straight year as a finalist, Manning was left off the list of new Hall of Famers again in 2026. The argument against him usually comes down to the regular season, no All-Pro selections, a career record that landed almost exactly at 500. But football has never claimed to only reward the best regular season resume. It claims to reward moments that define the sport, and there may not be a bigger moment in the history of the Super Bowl than a quiet, unassuming quarterback from New York, standing in the pocket, delivering a throw that ended a perfect season. Twice. 2 rings. 2 Super Bowl MVPs. 2 of the most famous upsets professional football has ever produced, against the same dynasty, with the whole world watching both times. And still, no gold jacket. If that isn't the most baffling snub on this entire list, I genuinely don't know what would be. 10 men, 21 combined Super Bowl rings, Defensive Player of the Year awards, Super Bowl MVPs, all-decade selections, and NFL records that still stand today. And not one single gold jacket between them. Here's the frustrating part. This isn't even the full list. There are more names just like these 10, sitting in that same limbo every single year, watching younger players who haven't done half of what they did walk into Canton first. So now it's your turn. Drop a comment and tell me which one of these 10 hurts the most for you. Was it Eli Manning shocking the football world twice? Torry Holt being the last man standing from a legendary offense? Or somebody else on this list I didn't rank high enough for your liking? And if this video opened your eyes to just how broken the Hall of Fame voting process can be, do me a real favor. Hit like, drop that comment, and share this with a fellow football fan who needs to see it. I know I keep saying it, but it genuinely matters. Every like, every comment, every share tells YouTube this is exactly the kind of content real football fans want, which means the algorithm puts it in front of more people just like you. Subscribe if you're new here, because there are a lot more of these injustices left to uncover. Until next time, keep fighting for the guys who earned their spot.